You know those days, the ones where you were just so unbelievably on fire, you feel like you could solve anything, only to wake up the next day feeling completely useless? Okay, let's get into this, because that crash, that feeling of burnout, it's not a failure. It's actually a feature. We're going to take apart the guilt of that post-flow crash and figure out how to recover, intelligently.
Oh, you know this feeling. You know it deep down. All the noise of the world just fades away. That little voice in your head, the inner critic, goes completely silent. You are just operating in pure 8K clarity. Problems don't get solved. They literally just dissolve in front of you. You're in the zone, creating, building, with a kind of speed that feels, it feels supernatural. It's an amazing high. But, and there's always a but, right? It comes with a price.
Because then, boom, 24 hours later, the resolution just plummets. The brain that was running in crystal clear 8K now feels like it's struggling to load a grainy, gray, static-filled image. It feels like a damp sponge. You feel lazy, you feel unmotivated, you might even feel kind of broken. And this whiplash between the peak and the valley, it can leave you feeling this really intense frustration. So what is actually going on here? We look over at other people, the ones who seem to just maintain this steady, consistent pace every single day, and we feel this intellectual shame. Like, why can't I be consistent like that? Well, listen, the answer has nothing to do with your willpower. It's about biology. This right here, this is the core idea of this whole explainer. It's a total reframe. This isn't some character flaw you have. You are not inconsistent. You are experiencing a totally predictable biological state. It's called metabolic saturation. Your brilliance simply has a biological cost, and that bill always comes due. So to really understand this, we need to shift our whole mindset. We've got to move away from the relentless grind of hustle culture and adopt a smarter, more sustainable, biologically aware approach. Let's call it metabolic pacing. So let's look at the actual science of what's happening in your brain. Okay, think of it like this. That period of intense focus, that's you overclocking your computer's CPU. I mean, you get incredible performance, right? But it generates a ton of heat and it consumes an insane amount of power. Your brain is exactly the same. That 8K flow state is a super high-intensity burn that just torches through your biological capital at a crazy fast rate. So what's really going on up there? Well, your prefrontal cortex is just guzzling glucose and oxygen at a rate that is completely unsustainable. Your system is flooding itself with dopamine and norepinephrine to keep you laser-focused. But all of this intense activity creates byproducts, like a chemical called adenosine, which literally acts like a biological brake pedal. It's what makes you feel tired and tells your whole system, hey, it's time to slow way, way down. And this is the most crucial point. The crash isn't a bug. It's a safety feature. It's a neuroprotective shutdown. Your brain is intelligently dimming the lights to protect its own hardware from the stress of that high-intensity burn. It's literally saving itself from a total meltdown so that you can be brilliant again later. The best way to think about this is as a focus tax. The more intense your focus was, and the longer you kept it going, the bigger the metabolic debt you rack up. Your recovery time is directly tied to the brilliance you just put out into the world. You are literally burning the wick at both ends. This biological reality? It demands a completely new philosophy of work. We're always told to be like a factory with this linear, consistent output. But for what the source material calls the unordinary mind, performance isn't linear at all. It's cyclical. So on the left, you've got the dandelion. Steady, consistent, always on. That's the whole success is a marathon myth we're sold. But on the right, you have the sentinel. The sentinel is built for the hunt. For these high-intensity bursts of genius, followed by deep, meaningful rest. The sentinel's job isn't constant work. It's to manage the peak and, just as importantly, to honor the valley.
And this is the emotional shift that changes everything. Your exhaustion isn't proof that you're weak. It's the receipt for your brilliance. The crash is the evidence of the peak. And once you truly, truly get that, the intellectual shame it vanishes. You're not crashing anymore. You are refueling.
Okay, so we get the why. Now, how do we actually manage this cycle? How do we pay that post-flow tax without completely losing our momentum? Let's get practical. Let's talk about the pacing protocol.
All right, here are 4 things you can do. First, after a deep focus session, take an input zero buffer. That's 30 minutes. No screens, no podcasts, no new information. Just let your brain start to clear out those metabolic byproducts. Second, plan for 240p days. Just accept that the day after a peak is going to be low resolution and schedule your simple, low-stakes admin work for that time. Third, you have to resist the urge to power through with caffeine or sugar. That just puts a Band-Aid on the fatigue and makes the debt even bigger. Rest is the only fuel that works. And finally, label the state. Literally say out loud, I am in a metabolic cooling phase. Naming it puts you back in the driver's seat. You're the observer, not the victim of your biology.
So as we wrap this up, I want to cement this new identity. The goal was never to be a machine just cranking out work at a constant, boring rate. That's a fundamental misunderstanding of how high-performance minds actually work.
This is so important to really let sink in. The whole model of the steady, predictable factory assembly line, that was never designed for you. Your greatest value doesn't come from being consistent. It comes from those incredible, explosive peaks of insight and creativity, peaks that are biologically impossible to maintain 24/7.
Now, you are the architect of your own energy systems. Your job isn't to force the machine to run when the tank is empty. It's to design the cycles of intense work and strategic recovery that allow you to operate at your absolute best, sustainably.
So really, the choice is yours. You can keep fighting against your own natural biology, feeling shame and frustration. Or you can step up and embrace your role as the architect. You can learn to manage the peak, to honor the valley, and to engineer a system where your brilliance can truly, consistently flourish.